Hey guys, you're watching Daniel and Gian talk, and today we're going to be doing a full review of A Wednesday. As you know, I am Bald Gian, and with me as always is Fat Daniel.
Fat fuck Daniel.
Fat fuck Daniel.
Yeah.
Two guys who've never gotten laid in their lives.
Yeah.
And we don't steal your girlfriends. We do. But anyways, A Wednesday, 2008 feature film starring Nawazuddin Shah. I feel like I say his name backwards every single time.
It's because of Siddiqui.
It's
Fucks
Nasiruddin Shah. And, Jimmy Shergill, it's the first time we're exposed to Jimmy Shergill, although there's a resemblance to Barry Pepper. The whole time I'm thinking, Barry Pepper is the American Jimmy Shergill. We're gonna put it that way. The whole time I watched this, I was waiting for the Law and Order, like transitional music, like after every scene, because I felt like it was a 2-hour-long episode of Law and Order. The way it's shot, the way, just everything, the way everything was explained. I don't know. It felt like a TV show to me more than anything. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Law and Order, but it's a procedural crime drama that's been on for since before TV existed. They used to do it in vaudeville.
I didn't get that at all. I got to buy the numbers, but at the same time, was that a bad thing?
Absolutely. It's absolutely a bad thing.
We'll expand upon that before I just say you're wrong and then we get an argument. I'm just curious to know why you feel that way.
Well, I mean, first of all, I feel like you probably haven't watched much Law and Order.
SVU was my shit.
Anyways.
That's fucking Law and Order, and then I watched it too with the
75. But no, everything was it reminded me a lot of Black Friday. It had the same kind of feel to it where it was all everything was exact. There was no, I don't want to say there was no creativity to it, but there was just everything that happened, I expected it to happen. I didn't really get blown away by anything until, we get to the end or the climax of things that are going down.
The last 15 minutes.
Yeah, and even then that didn't at no point in this film did I get excited or tense, or I was never on the edge of my seat. There was no tension. That's the best part of putting it.
They didn't raise the stakes.
No, everything was straightforward.
Let's just talk about the ending first, because the ending changes the whole focus of the movie. Obviously, in my opinion, I feel like that's what a lot of people like about it, is the ending, the whole twist. Here's this vigilante basically taking the matters into his own hands. I like the concept. The execution is where I have a huge problem, and it kind of... I genuinely don't know whether I enjoy the movie or I don't, because the ending is smart, right? In terms of like I said, as a concept. Here's this guy who's just gone through so much shit, he can't take it anymore, and I'm gonna put the law into my own hands. I'm gonna start taking people out.
I mean, it was interesting that he even kind of looked like falling down, because I got that kind of.
Oh, the short sleeve shirt and everything.
Yeah, and it's just like a regular everyday guy who's just fed up.
The common man.
Yeah.
He's even called. That's what he. But see, the thing is, was this the best way to execute that idea? And I don't think it was.
Well, and I'm going to go back to you saying you don't know if you liked the movie or not. And I'm going to tell you that you didn't like the movie. Why, even though you liked the ending, you didn't like the movie? Because the only reason why you finished this movie was for this review. Had it been an everyday, you just popped it up on Netflix, you probably would have stopped it and walked away.
I mean, unless I paid at the movie ticket price or something.
Well, like I said, if you're watching it at home on Netflix or something, you wouldn't have finished the movie. We never would have talked about this at all.
I get your point. I don't really stop movies, but I get your point, because it would have just been really? The best way to describe it, going off what you said, if I was watching the movie and then I wanted to go eat dinner or do anything else, I might not go back and finish it. I wouldn't turn it off.
I'm going to call you a half liar, because you would have finished the movie, but it would have taken you 10 years to finish the movie. Because there's already evidence. We know that you stop watching films and then eventually you get back to them, but not a couple hours later.
Yeah, at some point.
I mean, Daniel did not like the first episode of Game of Thrones. It took him 4 fucking years to get through the first episode of Game of Thrones. That's incorrect.
That's wrong. House of Cards and Game of Thrones, I had to rewatch the first episode a few times to get past into the second one. But I watched them. I completed them. But anyway, but the execution, and this is what I really want to talk about it the most, because I have 3 pages worth of notes before we got to the ending, where it was just pissing me off. The execution, I'm like, what? Everything I wrote down, if you were to just say, well, this happened because of the ending, that's not necessarily the best, because, okay, here's Speed. This movie reminded me of Speed.
Absolutely.
This movie reminded me of Die Hard with the Vengeance, not the first one, where it's just, again, even falling down a little bit, where it's just this.
Right, Die Hard 3.
Yeah, the one with Samuel L. Jackson.
It even reminded me of that Gerard Butler, Jamie Foxx movie a little bit as well.
Oh, I didn't see that one, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
With the shittiest ending.
It reminded me of The Dark Knight, too. You know, like these movies that have to do with these guys who...
Like sending the cops on a goose chase to solve a bunch of puzzles and
exactly.
shit.
But my thing is, though, in those movies, you know right off the bat, like The Dark Knight, comic books, here we go, Dark Knight. You know Joker is you know he means business
right.
from the first scene. He kills people, he goes and robs banks right away. In Speed, you know that cop, who's Dennis Hopper, it means business.
Right.
I think he blows something up or something in the very first scene. Die Hard with the Vengeance, you know what's his name's games right away, like Simon says. Like
right.
There's threats, there's plausible recourse to you not doing what he says.
There's absolute consequences.
In this movie, there is no consequences.
And we get an opportunity with that the only bomb he really planted to go off, and it never does. You know, and then we find out later why.
That's what I'm saying. You can make the argument.
But something happening with that bomb would have made like everything else kind of.
You want to know what my argument to that is? The climax of the film, when you reveal his true intentions, when he tells you like, I'm doing it because you guys are letting this shit happen, and you'd rather control them as opposed to killing them outright. He basically says you should be killing these motherfuckers instead of letting them kind of go off and do their own thing. If you play that scene towards the beginning, not the very beginning, but like maybe towards the middle of the film or like Act 2, and then the story because if you notice in that scene, he starts saying why he likes all these things, and all of a sudden the hacker can't find out where he is anymore.
Yeah.
The other people, like he doesn't really look like this sketch anymore.
They start falling in line.
Right? But that's an interesting twist. Imagine that happens early on in the movie, and this cop has to catch this guy because he's breaking the law.
It helps it because it gives the character a motivation. We never really see a motivation.
And instead of him planting the bomb at a police station, let's say he's this fucking smart that he can outrun the hacker or whatever and all this shit, which doesn't make any sense because we've never really presented him with any sort of skills. We just assume that he can do all this stuff. So that's the leap of faith. I didn't question that at all.
Right.
Why not have him target these terrorists one by one?
Yeah.
Like the Punisher style, and he's blowing them up, car bombs.
Yeah, killing them himself, and then people are like,
who is this guy?
And they have this moral dilemma.
It's like Death Wish.
Yeah.
Where it's like the people that are getting murdered are bad guys, and we support this guy. You know, the people start going around like.
But the cops can't because it's against the law. He's a criminal.
And you need to catch him.
Yeah.
And no one wants to help him. And then it's like Sacred Games, which you didn't see, which is like you kind of have to go behind the law to get this guy. Now, does that change the whole dynamic of the story? Absolutely. Is that it? But at the same time, it doesn't though, because it still has the same message. You can still get away with like why he's doing what he. Because in all honesty, everything is presented in this way for the twist.
Cue the why don't you make your own movie like that, Daniel?
Well,
comments. There's going to be a bunch of
Look,
those.
I'm just saying, if I watched this in 2008 when it first came out, and I'm an Indian, and like maybe this movie's mind blowing, right? You know, I haven't watched Speed in fucking forever, and maybe if I were to rewatch it now, it would be a piece of shit. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But I remember watching Speed growing up and loving the movie, enjoying it thoroughly, like just enjoying it. So like. My opinion does change over time. I implore you guys to after this review to maybe recheck the movie out just to see maybe we have something to talk about. You know, maybe we have some sort of.
I mean, it's 10 years old, almost 11 years old now.
Cinema's changed.
And like I said at the very beginning of the review, it is for me. It was like an episode of Law and Order. It was by the numbers. You kind of knew exactly.
See, this was like really over dramatic though. Like this to me was more in line of like a soap opera.
You don't think? Well, that will be the argument for another day. Is Law and Order kind of a soap opera in itself? Which for me.
But the reason why I don't see Law and Order, and maybe we're just looking at it from two different perspectives, but it's the same thing. Law and Order, there was no like when they cut. They don't add like unnecessary sound effects. They don't like do all this weird style cutting.
Right.
So stylistically, that's where I'm like having a trouble.
Right.
But maybe on the procedural, as you've said before, like this happened and then this happened and then this happened. But even then, it's like nothing happened that would cause the cops to like they were already like being credible. Like this guy was credible from the beginning. Like, I have bombs all over the city, and they're freaking out. We got to call the this, and we got.
Yeah, those were.
Now, is it maybe because
those were the leaps of faith that were hard to take?
Is it maybe because it's in India, and so maybe these types of things happen more frequently? So it's kind of.
I mean,
because if you look at a school shooting, there was just at CSUN, someone wrote on the bathroom stall like, there's going to be a school shooting on this day, and it was a big deal. Like, everyone was on it immediately.
Yeah, because we're all very paranoid.
Could be what it is, and if that is, I accept that. But at the same time, shouldn't you have some like checks and balances in place to figure this out? I mean, once you find the bomb, okay, then it's different.
Right.
But even then, it's like, I don't know.
Maybe it was just the professionalism of the guy on the phone.
It was like right away though.
How they couldn't trace his phone call, Maybe that. I don't know. I mean, there was stuff like that.
Well, they didn't even get to the trace.
There was other like unnecessary stuff that I thought was supposed to be character building that didn't do shit. Like when he initially drops the bomb off at the police station, what do we see? We see a cop like basically making fun of a guy for being.
So I think that. Go ahead. Sorry, I want to interrupt you.
It's a guy making fun of a guy who's afraid of his wife.
Get beat up by his wife.
Yeah, getting beat up by his wife. Like there's a little joke in there, and I mean maybe that was supposed to say, oh, this is how inept the police are. But then immediately after, the police are like on top of everything. They solve all his puzzles. Whatever.
I think what you said is it goes to the theme. There's two of those moments. There's that scene, and then there's a bribing scene. Where like that fat cop's like taking a bribe, and then the other guy comes in and he makes him pay the bribe back and $20.
Yeah, it was a setup for super rough intimidation cop, which was like
that in and of itself.
And tonally, that guy didn't fit with the rest of the characters in the film. And it was almost comedic relief, but he's not supposed to be funny
because there's no hunting. Like they didn't. It's the stakes, man. Nothing happened to like.
Well, there's hunting. They just find them immediately.
Immediately, it doesn't. Yeah. So it's just like, I
mean, my favorite part is dude running past the guy running away in traffic, and he goes behind them.
Drive-by slap.
Yeah, the drive-by slapping that knocks him down.
When it comes down to it, I think it's just the execution because the style like bothered me too. Like genuinely, like I understand adding sound effects for certain styles, certain types of cutting and things like that because Scorsese does it. And when he does it, I always feel like it's motivated by something. But here in some of these shots and some of these moments, it felt too much.
Yeah.
Like, at no point did I feel like the movie ever let the movie exist on its own. I always felt like the music was telling you exactly how to feel at every single point of the film. There was never a point where like the movie could just breathe and you can figure it out yourself. For example, the very beginning, after the scene you talked about where the guy's belittling the guy who got beat up by his wife, right? He's like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom, whatever, after he files a report, and then he goes to the bathroom. You see him leave with the bag in his hand in a wide shot. The very next shot, he walks into the bathroom, and you see the bag in his hand. And then you can see it put it on the floor. He stands and looks in the mirror. And then it cuts to the low angle shot of the bag, and then when he kicks it under the sink, they add like this like sound effect as if it's like some big. We got that it's a bomb. We don't need that extra guidance to like let it set in that it's a fucking bomb. Like we understand the visual language. So if you just have him, he walks into the bathroom, looks in the mirror, and then because the very next shot in the movie right now is he's walking out and he has nothing and it's playing this music. If you just show him looking in the mirror and then you cut right to him walking out, the audience will know he left the fucking bag in there. Right. They're not going to be like, "Where's his bag? Was this a mistake?" Yeah. Like obviously the motherfucker left it in there because
they really wanted to make it badass. It would have blown up behind him,
and he's just fucking walking out.
Yeah,
there was no bombs went off other than the main one.
Yeah,
which is also kind of weird too. Like in this fucking airport or wherever they're at, there's two random ass benches. And these cops are not going to look at the benches. They're cops. The guy's dealing with bombs.
Well, we have been told that the Indian police are a bit inept, and in every film we've watched, they've been inept as well. So maybe
there's a stretch. I feel like a lot of people are going to hate on us for this review.
I mean, and that's
because
fair.
A lot of people enjoyed this movie, and I just hope you guys can just listen to what we're saying because we're not attacked. I don't hate this movie.
So let me ask you. So, on a political level, we've noticed the anti-Pakistan sentiment in the comment section and not all, but there's a bit of like anti-Islamic stuff that happens on occasion. How much of that may or may not be a factor as well? Why people like this so much? Because it's a film about, catching and killing the bad guys, and just that having that element,
revenge. I mean, the Yuri surgical strike was all about that.
Right.
People were just. I'm not too sure. It's hard for me to answer as an outsider, because it's like, if this. It's hard for me to answer, because the closest movie I can relate to what you just said is Patriot Day, which is a Mark Wahlberg movie about the Boston bombing, which I like that movie a lot. But the whole point is the movie basically starts off with the Boston Marathon bombing.
Yeah.
Those two, I forget where they're from. They're Muslim. I don't remember where they're from though. I think
they're Chechnya.
Yeah, and the rest of the movie after that is like a manhunt. It's finding them, and you don't fucking like these guys at all. Because it's kind of like the attacks of 26/11, where you continue to see them do bad shit, and then when they finally meet their maker, you're like, fuck yeah, finally someone shot him and killed him, whatever. So like, there's that angle, but that was a real life event. It wasn't a fabricated story to just kill. I don't know, but in my opinion though, if that's the case, if what you said is true, like that's what people are clinging to, like fuck terrorists, let's just kill them all, whatever, they deserve this shit, then why not kill more? Why not make it? Because he even says, like, why did you pick these four? And he's like, I looked at a list and picked them out of lottery or random or something like that.
Right.
So they're not significant people. They're important, but like he could have killed more. The dialogue always made the situations appear way more serious than they were.
Yeah.
So I can kind of see what you're saying, because if you're emotionally invested in the movie, because I think when this came out, there was attacks in 2006, which were trains, which is kind of, I think that's what they based the movie off of. So it's fresh as fuck.
Right.
So like if that, like 100%, but if you were to ask me if I think that's why people like it so much, I'd say no. I think people like it so much just because of the twist and like the idea of a regular dude being a comic book. Being the Punisher, literally. I mean, for lack of a better example, is just going out there and taking care of business.
Right.
Fighting crime because the government's too afraid to
doing the stuff
whatever.
that the law won't do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. But I just think if that's the case, I think there's just a better way to do it.
No, absolutely.
Great idea. Not the best execution. Not the worst execution.
It wasn't a terrible movie.
Not at all. I wouldn't say that at all.
Not by the.
It was also really overhyped by like all our subscribers.
Yeah.
And so I was really expecting my mind to be blown.
Maybe the expectations were raised a little bit. I mean, a lot of people said that about Tumbad too, and we like.
But I like Tumbad, so that's what I'm saying.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, no, I think that's a huge part of it, and I don't know. It was just.
Plus, when they blew up the terrorists, they didn't blow up. Their burning bodies flew up, which just made no sense to me. But that's a nitpick, I guess.
Yeah. I'm going to go with it was just lackluster. It was just kind of lackluster, And
it could have been so much better.
Yeah. I mean, the concept was there. Just like, we'll say it for the fifth time. Execution.
As a movie, it's a 5, I think. If I were to like really rewatch it and, maybe now that I know the ending, there might be more there than I missed.
Right.
That might be the case. So it might go up from there, but like as it stands right now, because the reason why I say it is, as I was watching, I was writing all these notes because I was just getting more and more frustrated. Like, why the fuck isn't anything happening? Like, nothing's happening that's going to cause these people to get more and more intense. Like the police, they keep getting more and more serious. Like, we got to get these guys. We have no other choice but to bring these guys in. What do you mean we have no other choice? The guy has literally shown no aggression that would indicate that. So it's just like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then when the ending comes in, well, if he were to kill anybody, it would defeat his whole purpose.
There's the other thing, too, before I give my rating, that I feel like just little, like if you're going to go with kind of the cliche route, you could have, I feel like adding time to the movie, like just saying like 24 hours, like a timer or something, like with having
it's supposed to take place over 3 hours.
Okay, so us seeing this 3 hours going down and how they're running out of time would have added the tension.
The ticking
just
clock.
That little
ticking
thing.
Clock.
With this that little thing, and not having that, like it just the film had zero tension throughout its entirety.
It was forced tension.
Yeah,
because of the music.
Even there's that one where we think and I knew he didn't, but Jimmy Shergo's going up the building.
Like, the wrong building.
Yeah, like, and I'm like, the whole time I'm like, I get what you guys are trying to do. Like, you can't.
I can't wait for him to get up there and there's no one there.
Exactly. Like.
I was waiting for the wife to get killed because she was in the train, and you see at the beginning he leaves a bag at the train station, which never gets.
That's yeah, exactly.
So like there's little things like that where I'm like, okay, I kind of it's all red herring.
Which was weird. Like the other inspector or his lackey is the one with the wife, and they may have a couple of phone calls. And then there's that weird exchange, like, are you willing to die even though you have this family? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Like,
I know. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's all a red herring.
But what is that trying to build? Like,
I don't know.
Whatever it was trying to build didn't work for me.
Because there was no stake building.
No, never.
At the end of the day.
And I mean, and that was like a false attempt at building stakes. Like, let's throw
And that's an issue. You can only do that for so long.
Right.
You can't do that for fucking 80 minutes.
Well, you really can't do it when it doesn't work the first time. That's really.
Because I was with it at first. Yeah. I'm like, okay, who is this guy? He's gonna start like blowing people up. Okay, and then it didn't happen, and I'm like, all right, maybe it's something more. And then it never fucking happened.
You're waiting for speed. That's.
And that's not a bad. Yeah. I don't. But see, I'm trying not to compare it to that though. Like I'm trying because I don't want the fucking comments where like this isn't fucking Speed. This isn't.
Well, no, it's not, but it is.
But it is though, and I don't want it to be Speed. I'm just saying there is another way to do the same thing. That's all. What's your rating?
And maybe that's the issue is like having the expectation of it being like one of these things that we've already seen. I give it like a 5 at the most. I don't know, between a 4 and a 5.
It was whatever.
It was
mediocre.
Whatever. It wasn't like I didn't want to gouge my eyes out.
No, it wasn't bad. I'm glad it was an hour and 45 minutes as opposed to fucking 3.
The acting was fine. The performances were fine. It was solid. Everybody was in the pocket. Everything was so. It just felt real cookie cutter, formulaic, but not in a good way.
It makes you appreciate the chase scene in Black Friday though.
Yes.
That fucking foot chase scene is like a million. If you guys haven't seen it, go. I highly recommend it. I know a lot of people recommended us to watch Black Friday, and we did. You can watch our review, but yeah, I enjoyed Black Friday way more than this.
Right.
Because I feel like a Wednesday could have taken a little bit from Black Friday.
Right.
To like
it did
in terms of character development.
It could have, and I didn't really care for Black Friday. Well, what do you guys think about the movie? When was the last time you watched it? If you watched it 10 years ago,
might want to recheck.
Might want to rewatch it again before you go in on this hard. If you watched it recently, let us know what you still like about it
and what we got wrong.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.